Whoa, that caught me off guard. Welcome to the show. That ended quite quickly. I looked back over and it was already done. Yeah, if you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. We have the beautiful Betty Van Velsen getting ready to present her presentation. Sounds a bit redundant. How are you, Betty?
Better than you.
Shut up. I'll give you I liked you better on mute.
I know. I said ditto.
Is that what you said when your levels were
Yes.
bouncing up and down?
Yeah. The thing is that works both
What?
works both ways when you're muting someone.
Yeah, I like it. You see, before we went live, I said, oh, it's damn near time to go, so I'm going to put you on mute. So I put her on mute. She can still hear me as long as I keep my mic open, so I can just talk to her without hearing a word she says. But I can see her levels bouncing up and down whenever she says anything.
Yeah, I could call you anything in the world and you wouldn't know it.
Well, I can call you anything in the world, and you would know it.
Yes, and I could just whip it off.
What did I tell you to do when I put you on mute?
Get stuffed.
Yes, I did.
You didn't know that I would say that, huh? You were sort of like, oh, she's not going to say that ever. But
It's a lot of fun. Putting her on mute and Betty, get stuffed. I love doing that.
I think it's more that you do that for Adam. It sort of suits him better than me.
Yeah, it's got some crossover appeal every now and again.
Yeah, your sister.
Yeah, right. Wonder how she's doing. I'm gonna give her a buzz.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
So what do you got going on for today?
Didn't I do an elaborate expose already on the Tuesday
on the
show?
title? Yeah, it was quite long.
It sort of ended up in a whole Bible sort of talk afterwards, huh?
Oh, you're talking about on the show? Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, with Adam and other people. Yeah, like Neil and stuff. That was funny. You know, I found that, and I wouldn't have believed it if I wasn't seeing it all around me. But the thing is that once I became a Christian, I thought that everybody would be on the same game, sort of. But I've noticed that there is more different views within Christianity than there is in atheism. At least that's sort of clear. Everybody hates God, right?
Yeah, I thought that. I thought
but
that
in
too.
Christianity, people have so many views on things. It's really amazing.
I thought the same thing. I had the same feeling myself, but especially when it came out here on the internet. Yeah, I felt the same way. I said, "What's going?" It kind of surprised me.
Yeah, me too.
And it's so the views are so many and so wide. That's the breadth of it. Kind of surprised me.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also the vitriol that's going to come out of this. I mean, people wanting to stab each other in the back, like not really in a physical way, but more like in other ways.
Yeah.
Where they think that they have the best arguments and stuff, and their views are should is it surmount anybody else's? You know,
Yes.
that's yeah. And I do have my fair share of doing that same thing.
Oh yeah, you do. Let's go on and talk about that.
About that.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Well, the thing is that I want people to see it my way.
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
Well, it's a confession, and I've asked the Lord to forgive me and give me wisdom and knowledge and wisdom.
Sure.
And some wisdom, some more.
Yeah, more wisdom on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And one of my cats is doing something that I don't like.
Right.
Now let's go about doing stuff if you are not able to correct them, right? It seems to be that way. Oh my God, already?
Sorry about that. No. It's just one of those days. It's a blah day. I told you I had some mocha that just didn't agree with me.
Does it ever agree with you?
Yeah, because I don't know. This time, I don't know. Blah.
You also, with coffee, I think that you had a lot of problems. And then mocha coffee, for crying out loud.
I had a lot of problems pronouncing the damn names correctly.
Yeah?
Yeah, remember?
Or the espresso?
Yeah, espresso. Yeah, I didn't.
I have to admit, I did make that mistake in the very, very beginning, well, years ago. And then somebody corrected me. No, it's not espresso, it's espresso. It's not that it is done expressively.
Yeah, it's not that it's fast.
It's done with an espresso. It's pressurized. Yeah.
Could be espresso, depending on what context you're using in fast.
I have no idea what you just said.
Yeah.
What's fast? Fast what?
Fast to the bathroom.
That's not what you meant, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we'll get.
I don't know. I don't know if there's many people that need to go to the bathroom and have a cup of coffee. Seems.
We don't want to get into that discussion. That was my first experience with it. Like I said, I'm kind of new to coffee. Surprisingly, I never did it for years and years and years. I think I was like in my late 20s before I started drinking coffee. And then,
You're kidding me.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
I grew up with that. I got it when I was 8.
Wow.
Maybe even earlier.
I was in the Army. I was out in the field, and somebody suggested we were really cold as usual, and the only warm thing they did bring some. What do they used to call those things? We call them pellets or something. I don't know. Big silver thing. It doesn't matter. And they had some coffee in there, and I took my first cup of coffee after breakfast ever. Yeah, that wasn't a good idea.
Did you have any milk or sugar in it?
I put sugar in it, not milk, sugar.
No. The thing is, without the milk, it's heavier on the stomach.
Yeah, I don't think that would have helped me anyway.
Well, milk does soothe it a little bit, because we, as kids, my sister and I, we were drinking it with milk and sugar. And later on, we dropped the sugar, but we kept the milk. My mom drank it without sugar, and she always had the sort of stomach ache, like achy stomach. Yeah. So, yeah. I wouldn't recommend the black coffee.
Yeah, where were you back then?
I think drinking my nice milky coffee at my parents' house.
Yeah. That wasn't. It wasn't. It made an impression on me. It shouldn't have. It shouldn't have. But once, if a inconsequential event makes an impression, something's wrong.
It's weird, because your first cigarette should have done the same.
That was easy.
See, there you go. That would be, for me, nasty.
Yeah.
I never started it. I want to take a zip of how do you say that? A nip? A zip?
A nip. A nip is on the whiskey bottle.
A zip of a cigarette?
I don't know. There might be a name.
Do you take a zip of, or what do you do when you take a cigarette?
A hort.
A hort or a whiff?
I was thinking whiff for a second, but that's more of a smelling type of thing. I guess.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh. You don't even have a word for that, huh?
Yeah, there is. I just can't think of it. I think it's hort.
That doesn't sound right.
It doesn't. It doesn't, but it's good enough for today.
That's good.
All right, let's
Yeah.
get you going. It's always fun to talk with you, but I'm about had
About that.
it.
It's sort of a contradiction, isn't it?
Mate,
All right. Yeah,
share
let's
your
do it.
screen.
All right. I already did, right? Didn't I? Or is it gone already?
Yeah, it's gone.
Oh, I need to do it again now.
Yeah.
Weird that it left us. Huh?
Hmm. Skype can be squirrely.
Yeah, that's true. Now it needs to work. There we go.
No, there is nothing there.
I have it here.
It's not
You have
here.
it?
Right, that doesn't help you any.
Oh, it seems that stupid screen share didn't do the trick.
Yeah, try it again.
I need to stop it first and then start again, I suppose.
Yes. Mm-hmm. We got liftoff.
Hopefully here as well. Now we got it, right?
Yeah.
Ah, good.
Betty, liftoff.
Magic lift off. Okay, so last time I spoke about the adversary on the life of Esau, and I wanted to do the next one on the kings, and I thought, okay, that's good because there's I think it's 8 kings that Edom had even before that the Israelites had kings, and I wanted to know what these guys were about. And the only book is basically the book of Jasher. And I thought, okay, I'm going to compound these kings and all together in one show, or one sort of demonstration or presentation. And I'm thinking, there's too much information in there that we could miss. So I wanted to do king by king and sort of spread it out a little bit. Otherwise, you would be here all day. And I don't think that that's what you wanted to do today. So here we have my disclaimer. It's just my journey through Bible stuff and trying to get sort of also a historic setting. This is more the historic setting in which all these Bible stories basically take place, because people usually say, well, it's all mysteries, it's all stories, it's all myth, legends and whatever compiled. And that might just be the case, but it seems to me that it makes an interesting sort of red thread through history where you could sort of latch onto and say, okay, that makes sense. So last time I went over Esau's life, and it starts in 2006 BC. So here is Esau's birth. He's also Jacob's, because they were twins. Then on an unknown date, Esau sells his birthright, and then in a later date, he marries 2 women, and those are the daughters of Heth, of the Canaanites. And at 1950 BC, about that time, Esau is cheated out of his father's blessing by his brother Jacob. And after that, he hates his brother, and he leaves also Canaan, and then he goes to the Mount of Hor, where he sort of defeats or Mount Seir, and they are the Horites that live there, and he basically also sort of defeats them and gets them out of the territory. I like this feature. And then we go to the next bit. Esau meets and makes up with his brother. Well, here in Jasher, it gives us more information. I didn't go over that, but in Jasher, basically, Esau is also sort of has a sort of encounter with God as well, because Jacob wrestles with God over sort of repentance and meeting his brother again after he cheated his brother, of course, and he knows that he's basically done something wrong. But also Esau, he wants to basically kill his brother, but he is being sort of prevented to do that, and it's very interesting to read up that bit in Jasher. If it's true that way, we will never really know, of course, but it sort of makes sense that's why Esau, even though he came with 300 of his men, fully like soldiers basically, that he still was nice to Jacob. Why would you go with your best warriors to meet your brother, right? So, and the next part here is that he goes back to Edom, which is Mount Seir. So he's after the meetup with Jacob, he goes back to his home place. That's Mount Seir, and that is a sort of a desert sort of place, rocky, all red sort of mountains. So therefore, Esau and his sort of legacy or his like place is called Edom because Edom means red. Okay, and after a while, Jacob dies. He's 147 years old, and then he's buried in the cave of Machpelah that is was already bought by Abraham back in the day from the Hittites. And these is basically the burial place for all the patriarchs. And Esau is coming over, and he doesn't want to have it because he says that he's the one that owns Machpelah, and he ends up being killed by the oldest son of Dan, according to the book of Jasher. And he's basically beheaded, and his head rolls into the cave and seems to be buried alongside with the patriarchs, but the body is sort of taken back to Mount Seir and buried there. Interesting story, although I have sort of read another apocryphal book, well, it's not really a book, but more a testament of, I think it was Judah, Testament of Judah, and there it says that Esau was killed by Jacob by an arrow, bow shooting, basically, John. So more people that like bow shooting. So, okay, so this is basically how that ended. But after this whole event, basically the following happened: the battle begins, because the people that came after Esau, his offspring or his sons, his children, they hate the people of Israel basically now, and they want revenge. So how does it look? I showed this last time in the last presentation, all the sort of genealogy from Noah. So we have the Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and how these all came about. All these people were born and all sort of went their own way. And the ones that we sort of take a look at is the following. It's Ashur, that is later on is going to be Assyria. Heth, those are the Hittites. Those are once the women of two wives of Esau came from him. And then you have the Hivites, and the Hivites is also the ones that lived on Mount Seir, and also called most of the time the Horites. So Hivites means tent dwellers, and Horite means cave dwellers. So, and then this is an interesting place that we will sort of see what that ends up in. Really interesting. So I want to let you pay attention to this name. Also, it's sort of written with CH, so Chittim instead of Kittim. And these two, Cush and Mizraim, so this is basically Egypt, and Cush is also in Africa. So these are basically the players that are usually in the book of Jasher mentioned. So a little bit just about Ham and his offspring. So you see here, of course, the Egypt and all these people. And here you see that from the Casluhim, the Philistine came from Canaan. All these people, and they lived in the Canaanite region, the Canaan region. So now we can see that from the Hivites, Horites, and Seir. And Seir is one of the offspring of Hur and the Hivites. And then we got from Heth, Zohar. This is the predecessor from which Abraham bought the cave. And then we got two men, and they both got daughters, Judith and Ada or Bashemoth. And these are the wives of Esau. So then you can sort of see that whole genealogy in which they came from. We know that not Ham was cursed, but Canaan was cursed. So this is a cursed sort of branch, basically. So we need to pay attention on those people. So here we have, of course, all the other tribes and people that sort of went all over the place. So basically Japheth, Ham, and Shem. Aram was one of the sons of Shem. And then you have Ashur, Arphaxad, that's also in the genealogy. This is the place where Abraham came from, Sumer. So this is Assyria. This is Babylon here. These two sort of are. Sometimes this one has the upper hand, and sometimes Babylon has the upper hand. And then we have here Kiddim, also Cyprus. These are basically the people from Japheth. Also here, later on, the Kiddim place is also here in Italy. And we'll see later how that happened. So now here in Canaan, we can see that Ammon is Lot's offspring. Moab also Lot's offspring from his two daughters. Then you have the Jebusites. They are in Jerusalem, centered in Jerusalem. And then from Pathros and Caslog, from Mitzrayim, Egypt intermarried and became the Philistines. And then you have the offspring of Ham, Sodom, Gomorrah, and Admah, and Zeboim, that is Zoar. Those are basically placed here. And you can see that Edom is close by that place. And that those are the Edomites. They lived here most of in the beginning of the times. So last time I talked a little bit about the characteristics for Esau. That we already concluded, and that's here. Then he's ruddy, hairy. That's how he was born. He's a hunter and a cunning man, a man of the field. He marries outside his family. He sells and despises his birthright. He hates his brother for cheating him out of his inheritance. Something he already forfeited. He already did sell it himself. And then he fights with other tribes to possess the land and riches. And the characteristic for the Edomites is the land of Edom, which is a red and mountainous region. You can see here at the back these mountains, and also the tent-dwelling people, and also cave-dwelling people. So now we're going to talk about the next is the timeline until the flood and Edom and its kings. So we start off with a little bit of the book of Jasher. So I saw this book that is on. You can buy this on Amazon, and I saw the subscription or the book description, and it sort of summarizes exactly what it needed to be said about Jasher. So there's 13 ancient books, history books that are mentioned and recommended by the Bible. The ancient book of Jasher is the only one of the 13 that still exists. It is referenced in Joshua 10:13, in 2 Samuel 1:18, and in 2 Timothy 3:8. This volume contains the entire 91 chapters, plus a detailed analysis of the supposed discrepancies, cross-referenced historical accounts, and these detailed charts for ease of use. And I'm really thinking about buying that book because I like to see these cross-references and the historical accounts. I really like history and see if it matches up. And as with any history book, there are typographical errors in the text, but 3 consecutive timelines running through the history, it is very easy to arrive at the exact dates of recorded events. It is not surprising that this ancient document confirms the scripture and the chronology given in Hebrew version of the Old Testament. Once and for all, settling the chronology differences between the Hebrew Old Testament and the Greek Septuagint. So the ancient book of Jasher is brought to you by the Bible Facts Ministries, biblefacts.org, and this is their book cover. So you can see where I got this from, and I'm really interested in seeing what this book has more to offer that I haven't found on the internet myself. It's an ongoing search, by the way. So I've made a timeline that begins from Adam and Eve until the flood, and I did this to see how accurate the timeline of the book of Jasher is compared to the Bible, or more specific, Genesis. So here is the first chapter, the book of for the timeline of the book of Jasher. So here we have the first bit. It starts basically almost 4115 BC. So Adam is put on the earth. It's basically the beginning of the book of Jasher. And Seth is born. And it says then in this scripture, in the 130th year of Adam's life, Eve bare a son, Seth. So then you can sort of make a timeline out of all these descriptions of how many years in somebody lived and when they died, and that sort of stuff. So we'll go through it quickly, not that elaborate. And you can see here that it's sort of, here I count the years upwards, and then it matches up with eventually this year BC. So here it's Seth lived 155 years, and he begot Enosh. And then Enosh lived 90 years, we get Canaan. And my cat is doing something that I don't want him to do. Okay, and then we go here. And there's also sometimes flaws that are like typos. We will come across them here. So Enoch is born, and then it says here that it's 62 years, but it should be 162. And then we see Methuselah, and also here is a mistake made. 187 should it be. And then sort of the book corrects itself, because when Adam dies, he's 930 years old, which is also in the book. And then it says here, this gives us the authority to correct the former 2 numbers, which could be printer's errors. So there we go. Further on. So we go down, we see that these people lived long lives before the flood. Noah is born. We also know the wife of Noah, of Noah's mother. I like that when the also the names of the women are spoken about. We can see also that here there is some discrepancy, but that's still another maybe printing error being made. Shem being born. And Lamech dies. So 2 printing errors here. Noah's 595th year, and it should be Lamech's 777th. They miss a 7 here. But then we finally get to the flood. The book of Jasher. Here Noah starts building the ark. It basically says what time that happened. And Methuselah died, and he got to be, I think he was like 969 years old, so that's really old. I can't imagine what you've been doing with your life when you get that old. And here and then the flood begins. And that's the timeline until the flood. And I got a little help with this all, and these two are basically the sources for the chronology of the book of Jasher. So a little bit, sorry, a little bit on the time of Assyria. So after the flood, Noah sent out a dove, and he came with a little piece of string, little branch of an olive branch back. And then these people, so he had 3 sons, and they, with their wives and kids, sort of migrated. And we saw earlier in the map that Japheth went north, and then Ham went to sort of like Africa and Middle Asia, and also Shem was more like here in the middle. So we see here a little bit about what these places were. Like here you have Ur, where Abraham came from. Then you have Babylon here. Kish is a known one. And then here is Nimrod and Nineveh. And I think about here is somewhere Asher. Dus all these places, all these people went into their own sort of like place, and usually they named them these cities after themselves. And later on, they tend to, here's Ashur, by the way, and then later they sort of became deified. They were basically made into gods. So Ashur is also a god in their city. So Assyria was a region located in the ancient Near East, which under the Neo-Assyrian reached from Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, through Asia Minor, modern Turkey, and down through Egypt, and then the empire began modestly at the city of Ashur, known as Subartu to the Sumerians, and located in Mesopotamia, northwest of Babylon, were merchants who traded with Anatolia and became increasingly wealthy, and that affluence allowed for the growth and the prosperity of the city. So they traded amongst themselves here, and also here with where the Mediterranean starts. They had their ships there. So I got this bit from, this is the source where I got this from. So you have different sort of Assyrian timelines. This is the larger timeline. Of the earlier period, they don't really know. Well, we saw just now that the flood sort of was like ended, like a beginning and ended like in 2400 BC. So it started with the city-states. So old Assyria is basically city-states. And then the Middle and Neo, then they began to be growing. And then it's more like the land. And then after, it sort of regressed into a city-state maybe again. They are not really sure. I got this from Wikipedia. So Assyria, the Neo-Assyrian cuneiform inscription met Assur-ki for Assyria in the Rasam cylinder. You have these clay cylinders, and they roll them out, and they could sort of see what is written there. First column, line 5, Romanized Mat Ashur, Romanized Athor. I like that and find that interesting that it's Athor. Was a major ancient Mesopotamian civilization of the Assyrians, which existed as a city-state controlling regional territories from the 21st century BC to the 14th century BC, then to a territorial state, and eventually an empire from the 14th century BC to the 7th century BC. So you can see that it started with these towns, with these growing into cities, growing city-states. then regional, and then even like total empires. So this comes from Wikipedia. And then continuing on, in the old Assyrian period, when Assyria was merely a city-state centered around the city of Assur, the state was typically referred as Ashur, the city of Ashur. So you see that as the city. From the time of its rise as a territorial state in the 14th century BC and onwards, Assyria was referred to the official documentation as Mat Ashur, the land of Ashur, marking the shift to being a regional polity? Whatever. The term Mat Ashur is first attested as being used in the reign of Ashur-uballit I from circa 1363 to 1328 BC, the first king in the Middle Assyrian Empire. So both Ashur and Mat Ashur derive from the Assyrian national deity Ashur. Here you have it, the deity Ashur. Ashur probably originated in the early Assyrian period as a deified personification of Assur itself. In the old Assyrian period, the deity was considered the former king of Assur, which the actual rulers only using the style Isaac, I don't know how to pronounce this, as governor. From the time of Assyria's rise as a territorial state, Ashur began to be regarded as an embodiment of the entire land ruled by the Assyrian kings. So you can see that sort of how it sort of progressed from the 8 people in the ark, and then their offspring settling in different places. And suppose that you would start somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and you get kids, and those kids get married, maybe neighboring other kids, and then sort of a city happens, or state starts, and then that's the first one that settles is basically deified, and that's Ashur. And you can see how that sort of happens in Assyria and also all over the countryside, also in Japheth countryside and Ham countryside. So a little bit of the timeline of Assyria. I will go over it very quickly. I will come back to it later. So they think that this is a bit how it should have looked like. This whole how the beautiful like sort of paintings and columns and stuff. So when they excavated it, they could sort of derive this. How? Don't tell me how they could do that, but I really like this picture. So I hope that it would have looked like this. So in 1900 BC, you can see Ashur is the capital of Assyria. It's founded, and then in 1813 BC, the reign of Shamashi Adad I, who drives out the Amorites, secures the border of Syria and makes Ashur capital. And then the Hurrians occupy Syria. Mitanni annexes Syria. So Mitanni are basically a subsection of the Hittites, also the Hurrians, by the way. And then Assyria regains its independence. And then the reign of Assyrian king Adad Nirari I, Mitanni becomes a vassal state, so they conquer it back again. And then Shalmaneser I of Assyria conquers the kingdom of Mitanni and defeats its allies. In Battle of Nerea, Tikulti-Ninurta I of Assyria defeats oh my god, these names. Tudahalaija.
Goodness, this is easy. Battle of Neheria, Tukaliki and Ninurti, one of Assyria defeats Tudahalaija, 4 of the Hittites.
Say this word again. This name.
Tudahalaija. If you ask me again in 3 minutes, it'll be something different.
Yeah, I thought as much. So it's so bad. These names, unbelievable. But I think they sort of derived because they didn't know these vowels and stuff. Though they only wrote these the T, the K, that sort of stuff. So it's
I
more
think
like
I think they'd be quite beautiful if we had somebody to pronounce them correctly.
yeah. We need to get a time machine and look for ourselves, I suppose. But yeah, unless somebody makes that possible. So the reign of Tikulti Nuatan I, he conquered the Hittites again. So the Hittites also mean sort of people. And then he sort of goes on to Babylon. So that comes into view. Then Babylon is under Assyrian control. Oh, a little bit too fast. Reign of Tiglath-Pileser I, Assyria, who conquers Phoenicia and revitalizes the empire. So Phoenicia is on the seaside, so yeah, they have the access to ships and all. And then the reign of Adad-Nirari II, who revitalizes the kingdom and secures the borders. And then the surviving sphinxes from the Assyrian civilization, usually placed as guards outside the palaces. So this is basically the timeline, and they sort of discovered that when they put these sphinxes there, that it's around this time. And this is about the time that we are speaking about when these kings of Edom basically rose and fell as well. And these are basically this is not a really good picture, but these are pictures from musea, and I think this is one in the Louvre. So here is the human-headed winged lion Lamassu, and it's from the time period of 883 to 859 BC. So the Neo-Assyrian period, reign of Ashurbanipal II, excavated at Nimrud, not Nimrod, ancient Kalu, northern Mesopotamia. And this is the source where I got that photo from. So you have these sphinxes, these sort of lions with human heads on them. You also have these bulls with human heads on them, with wings as well, which is interesting, by the way. You have the winged bulls and winged lions. So now we go over to the first king of Edom. And who was that? Well, and also usually what was happening during, because we don't know his manners of eating and what he liked for breakfast and that sort of stuff, but more what happened during that he was king of Edom. So here we have the king, and his name was Bela, son of Beor. At Dinhaba, he reigned for 30 years. So in the book of Jasher, and the chapter 57, verse 1. And it was after this that the sons of Esau waged war with the sons of Jacob, and the sons of Esau fought with the sons of Jacob in Hebron, and Esau was still lying dead and not buried. So that was the time when Esau lay dead. His body was taken back to Mount Seir, and his head was supposedly, according to the book of Jasher, in that cave of Machpelah. And why did they wage war? Well, they wanted to have basically that cave. So what happened is, and the battle was heavy between them, and the sons of Esau were smitten before the sons of Jacob. And the sons of Jacob slew the sons of Esau 80 men, and not one died of the people of the sons of Jacob. And the hand of Joseph prevailed over the people of the sons of Esau, and he took Sepho, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, and 50 of his men captive, and bound them with chains of iron, and gave them into the hand of his servants to bring to them to Egypt. And it came to pass, when the sons of Jacob had taken Sepho and his people captive, all those that remained were greatly afraid of the lives of the house of Esau, lest they should be taken captive. And they all fled with Eliphaz, the son of Esau, and his people, with Esau's body, and they went on their road to Mount Seir. And they came unto Mount Seir, and they buried Esau in Seir. But they had not brought his head with them to Seir, for it was buried in that place where the battle had been in Hebron. So Hebron is basically the place where that cave of Machpelah is. And you can see that no one of Jacob died, but of the sons of Esau, yes. And of course Esau himself died in that battle. What does Edom do? And it came to pass, when the sons of Esau had fled from before the sons of Jacob pursued them unto the borders of Seir. But they did not slay a single man from amongst them when they pursued them, for Esau's body which they carried with them excited their confusion. So they fled, and the sons of Jacob returned back from them, and came up to the place where their brethren were in Hebron. And they remained there on that day, and on the next day, until they rested from the battle. And it came to pass, on the third day they assembled all the sons of Seir the Horite, and they assembled all the children of the east, and the multitude of people like the sand of the sea. And they went and came down to Egypt to fight with Joseph and his brethren, in order to deliver them their brethren. So you can see that immediately Edom sort of responded with getting everybody that they know assembled to fight the people, the Israelites, basically. And Joseph was basically the king over Egypt. So what we see here is, okay, this is where Sepho is at. So Sepho comes from Elon the Hittite through Eliphaz, and then he is a son of Eliphaz. And also from Eliphaz comes Amalek. Right? We know that one is also always in battle with the Israelites. So basically we are in this period, like in 1900, when Assur is just a capital city. So continuing, we go into the book of Jasher again. And therefore the sons of Esau swore, saying, from that day forward they would not choose a king from their brethren, but one from a strange land until this day. So what happened before here is they were defeated again. Right? Joseph defeated them again, and these people that Esau sort of called upon, or the Edomites called upon, they just say, well, the Horites, for example, they say, well, I'm not going to fight this fight anymore. It's your beef with the Israelites, not ours. And some of these Edomites also went to the Horites. So they sort of switched sides. And after this, they sort of made sure that they would never, like, having to say on any other of their brethren what to do and what to. So they didn't want to have a king over them, basically. If that makes sense. So therefore the sons of Esau swore, saying, from that day forward they would not choose a king from their own brethren, this is my connotation, their brethren, but from one from a strange land until this day. And there was a man there that from the people of the Angeas, the king of Dinhaba. His name was Bela, the son of Beor, who was a very valiant man, beautiful and comely and wise in all wisdom, and a man of sense and counsel. And there was none of the people of Angeas like unto him. And all the children of Esau took him and anointed him, and they crowned him for a king, and they bowed down to him, and they said to him, may the king live, may the king live. So, and they spread out the sheet, and they brought him each man earrings, gold, and all that. And they made him very rich in silver and gold and onyx stones and bdellium. I don't even know what this is. Do you know what this is, John, by the way?
I have no clue.
Me neither. Onyx is a sort of a black stone, I know that. I don't know, I think they made their thrones of this stone. But bdellium, I have no idea. And they made him a royal throne, and they placed a regal crown upon his head, and they built a palace for him, and they dwelt therein, and he became king over all the children of Esau. And the people of Angeas took their hire for their battle from the children of Esau, And they went and returned at that time to their master of Dinhaba. And Bela reigned over the children of Esau 30 years, and the children of Esau dwelled in the land instead of the children of Seir. So here you can see that basically Esau usurped the whole inheritance of the people of Seir, and they dwelt securely in their stead unto this day. So, who is this Bela, king of Edom? Well, it so happens that from Eber, we can also see here all the way down to Nahor's era, and then here you see that Abraham has Isaac and he has Jacob, and then here you see that Nahor has Bethuel, and then Laban, where Jacob went to work. He had 2 daughters, but he also had sons. So he had a son called Beor. That's interesting. And from Beor came Bela, son of Beor, king of Edom. So they chose basically sort of near relatives here. It's very interesting. So Joseph reigns as viceroy over the king of Egypt, but it's basically he does reign because the other king has nothing to say about anything. So it says here in the book of Joshua, chapter 58, verse 1 to 2, and it came to pass in the 32nd year of the Israelites going down to Egypt, that is, in the 71st year of the life of Joseph. In that year died Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and Magron, his son, reigned in his stead. And the Pharaoh commanded Joseph before his death to be a father to his son Magron, and that Magron should be under the care of Joseph and under his counsel. I think it's nice that this name is almost like the president of France, don't you think? The other one is with a C, but this is with a G. And then in the book of Joshua, it continues in chapter 58, 10 to 11. Neither did he reign but in the land of Egypt only, under the counsel of Joseph. But Joseph reigned over the whole country at that time, from Egypt unto the great river of Perath. I don't know where this exactly is. I haven't checked. And Joseph was successful in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. And the Lord gave Joseph additional wisdom and honor and glory, and love toward him in the hearts of the Egyptians and throughout the land. And Joseph reigned over the whole country 40 years. So it is a long time that he was there. In all the countries of the Philistines and the Canaan and Sidon, and on the other side of Jordan, brought presents unto Joseph all his days. And the whole country was in the hand of Joseph, and they brought unto him yearly tribute, as it was regulated. For Joseph had fought against all his surrounding enemies, and subdued them. And the whole country was in the hand of Joseph, and Joseph sat securely upon his throne in Egypt. So, and then we go to the next, where the Edomites assemble to free Sappho. In the book of Joshua, chapter 58, verse 14. And it came to pass at the end of many days and years, when the children of Esau were dwelling quietly in their land with Bela their king, that the children of Esau were fruitful and multiplied in the land. And they resolved to go and fight with the sons of Jacob and all Egypt, and to deliver their brother Sappho, the son of Eliphaz, and his men, and for they were yet in those days slaves to Joseph. Well, let's see what that battle is about. So in the book of Joshua it continues. And the children of Esau sent unto all the children of the east, and they made peace with them. And all the children of the east came unto them to go with the children of Esau to Egypt to battle. And there came also unto them of the people of Angias, king of Dinhaba, And they also sent unto the children of Ishmael, and they also came unto them. And all these people assembled and came to Seir to assist the children of Esau in their battle. And this camp was very large and heavy, with peoples numerous as the sand of the sea, about 800,000 men, infantry and cavalry. And all these troops went down to Egypt to fight with the sons of Jacob, and they encamped by Ramesses. And Joseph went forth with his brethren, with the mighty men of Egypt, about 600 men, and they fought with them in the land of Ramesses. And the sons of Jacob at that time again fought with the children of Esau in the 50th year of the sons of Jacob going down to Egypt. That was the 13th year of the reign of Bela over the children of Esau in Seir. And the Lord gave all the mighty men of Esau and the children of the east into the hand of Joseph and his brethren. And the people of the children of Esau and the children of the east were smitten before Joseph. And of the people of Esau and the children of the east that were slain, there fell before the sons of Jacob about 200,000 men. And their king Bela the son of Beor fell with them in the battle. And when the children of Esau saw that their king had fallen in battle and was dead, their hands became weak in the combat. And Joseph and his brethren and all Egypt were smitten, the people of the house of Esau, and all Esau's people were afraid of the sons of Jacob and fled before them. So they couldn't win this battle. So Sappho is still captured. And Joseph and his brethren and all Egypt pursued them a day's journey, and they slew yet from them about 300 men, continuing to smite them in the road, and they afterward turned back from them. And Joseph and his brethren returned to Egypt. Not one man was missing from them, but from the Egyptians there fell 12 men. That's not that many. And when Joseph returned to Egypt, he ordered Sappho and his men to be additionally bound, and they bound them in irons, and they increased their grief. So then Bela dies in battle. And then in book of Jasher, chapter 58, verse 26 to 27, and when the children of Esau saw that their king had died in battle, they hastened and took a man from the people of the children of the east. His name was Jobab, the son of Zerah, from the land of Bozrah, or Bozrah. And they caused him to reign over them instead of Bela their king. And Jobab sat upon the throne of Bela as king in his stead. And Jobab reigned in Edom over all the children of Esau 10 years. And the children of Esau went no more to fight with the sons of Jacob from that day forward. For the sons of Esau knew the valor and the sons of Jacob, and they were greatly afraid of them. So here we go. That's basically the end of the reign of Bela. So now we know a little bit more about the characteristic of the Edomite peoples. So here we had them for Esau, so ruddy, hairy, hunter and a cunning man of the fields, marries outside his family, sells and despises his birthright, hates his brother, Jacob, for cheating him out of his inheritance, fights with other tribes to possess land and riches. So Edom, red and mountainous region, but also here we got they want to have no king over Edom from their own people, hate the Israelites and seek revenge, conspire with other nations or other races to help fight their fights. And that's basically the end of my presentation for the first king of Esau. It's a sort of sudden end, but an end there is.
Wow, that took a lot of work.
Yeah, that is a lot of work, yes.
To do all those trees, my word.
Again, sorry.
I said to do all the trees. I like the trees. I thought you were going somewhere else with it, but that's fine.
The family trees, you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. But it's so interesting to see who is connected to who. Because when you read the Bible, you see these familiar names, and then you sort of end up in a story, and then you forget about these names. But you don't make the connections. You don't see where these people came from and how these are interconnected. And when you do see that, it makes more sense. Or you get a sort of a theme, or a sort of how do you say, a sort of an epiphany about, is that guy there, and why is he there? What is he doing there? And that sort of stuff. And I like genealogy. I love that. I love these pedigrees, which I would know that from my own family as well. But yeah, it goes only so far, right? When it's registered, it's you can sort of see where it comes from. But it's very intricate to see where these people ended up. And I think you will be surprised when we go over next kings as well, what sort of transpires with all these people from Edom and where they end up.
So Jasher is more of a history book.
Yes, but there are some very interesting nitbits that it's really interesting to know about. Also, that the whole thing about the burial places, for example, and buying a burial place. It's earlier on in the book of Jasher where it's sort of described. There's a man and he comes from another place. I think he comes from the place of Aram and basically the Shemites from Shem. And he goes to Egypt, and there's a king there. And once a year, that king comes to visit a certain place. And he wants to meet that king. But he has nothing. He has no business. Everything fails, basically. But then he sort of makes a scheme. What he does is he sort of hires a group of people and puts them in nice garments and whatever. And he says, every time that people want to bury someone, I want you to ask a price for that. So basically, everybody that wants to bury their relatives in a certain place, they have to pay for it. And he gets to collect that. So he gets more enriched. So once that king comes to visit the town, the king of Egypt came to visit the town, these people were sort of complaining again to the king, like, that guy is doing this and that and the other. And he's like very like, I'm going to do something against that. And then he meets up with that man, and then he sees how elaborate this guy sort of made this happen and how rich he became from it. So now he makes it law, right? So that king makes it law that everybody has to pay, even to bury a person. And then you sort of see how Abraham also has to basically pay for a burial cave somewhere. It's really sort of strange how that sort of interconnects, and how certain sort of, how do you say that, traditions or sort of habits seem to sort of cross over to other people groups and things. And we still have it now. If you want to bury someone, it costs you money, right? Why is that? Because somebody basically has to profit from it.
Huh.
Yeah. So, and then he calls. They from that time they call these people pharaoh. So that man that did that, he was called a pharaoh. Formerly they would call them kings, and that man that did that scheme, basically, he was now made pharaoh. So interesting how these names come about, and Jasher has more of these little thingies in there, and it's it can add on to more understanding of how things sort of formed and how things went. You will see later in the next editions of, of the presentation.
Okay.
Well, I think I did a nice, concise thing about this one.
Yeah, very concise. I liked it.
Yeah. Also, it's a lot of work is to use PowerPoint in a way that it's going to smooth, right? And I like how things look and move, and you can sort of like it's a little movie almost.
Yep.
But that takes time as well. But yeah, it sort of gives me a chance to get my creativity flowing again.
Chat, stopping traffic in my Rasta hat. QE should debate the Paulogia channel.
Huh. Where do I know him from?
Yeah.
Apologia.
Yeah, Apologia. Yeah. I call him
yeah.
Paulogia. Yeah. That's old news, man. I drug them around by their short hairs for I don't know how long, and then I just stopped because no one was going to answer me anymore. So I said, bye, clowns.
It was in the chat, wasn't it?
Yeah, him and remember that his
Didn't he block you? Finally?
I think he did. And I think he had a numpty girlfriend. She thought she was some type of philosopher or something.
Mm-hmm.
I faintly recall her. Can't remember her name all that well. She thought she was all that in a bag of chips. They're all evotards.
Mm.
And they had it out. I think Kent Hovind sent them over the edge. Yeah.
How can Kent Hovind sent him over the edge? Well, he's a creationist.
Yeah. That's old news, man. That's an old name. When I seen that, I said, whoa.
Yeah. He falls in the same category as that King Crocoduck.
Nah, he's a couple thousand echelons below Crocoduck, Crococlown, Crococrap.
Mm.
I've seen a video from him come out fairly recently because he hasn't been around. I'm still waiting on that third installment of Quantum Mechanics.
Yeah.
Boy, that was years ago, huh?
I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like I said, he did a great job with the descriptions. I gave him kudos for that. But there's a big difference between describing the history and how it got there to explanations. That's a wide gulf that can't be forded. I told him as much. I said, "Don't you do it." You better stay right here and quit while you're ahead. Like George Costanza.
Yeah.
We practice that all the time, folks. When we get a good one, we say, "Okay, that'll be it. See you next time." It ain't getting any better.
Eventually, because I sort of try to follow you around in which sort of video you might be responding to, remember? And it would be these long, like maybe 90 of these posts back to back, like you and then the Crayon Muncher, you Crayon Muncher. Oh man, it was so hilarious to see how these people would respond. And then after usually after two posts, it's like you, this and that and the other, right?
Yep.
Just like
Yep, those were the days, boy.
And then the first thing that you would do, like make quotation marks, that post, this is an at-home fallacy. There's nothing more like annoying to see than you calling someone names and then someone really politely say, that's an at-home.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, the big old hand wave dismissals. Remember, back in the day, I used to bury like Trojan horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Inside my, because I'd get into quite some detail, how I systematically deconstruct them. But I knew they weren't reading my posts, so I would put Trojan horses in there. Maybe taking some artistic license to what I think they should be doing and what I think they are doing and who they are. And they would never read it. They would never comment. And then I'd bring it out later. I'd say, hey, you're not reading my stuff because this was in the middle of it. I just arbitrarily put it somewhere, that they were
Freddy Clowns.
Yeah, maybe taking some artistic license with their sexual orientations.
Well, you say Trojan War, Trojan horse, horse in the Trojan Wars are sort of like integrated in Jasher as well.
Oh, it seems you bridged that gap quite nicely.
Yeah, bringing it back to.
Yeah, you brought it back. Good, kudos to you.
Yeah, well, you saw a guy named King Angias, right? Angias.
Yeah, I think
that guy is like a major player, and in these Trojan Wars. So I haven't quite figured out everything, and I'm not going to go in too much depth. I think that people need to investigate for themselves. But there's so much history that we don't know, or that is sort of mystified, or like put in myths and legends, and
yes.
Also now I begin to, because I got a huge attraction to the Greek mythology, because I like the land of Greece as well, and
sure.
I went there on vacation many times. And then I'd like, when I was on Crete, for example, you had the Minotaur, and that sort of labyrinth of Knossos. And that's so interesting and then when you finally see that there's connections to real biblical things, maybe, and also for the times in history, they deified their ancestors. So why wouldn't Zeus be a regular guy, not named Zeus, for example, but he's deified as Zeus, right? So Zeus is just a mortal, but they make him like a god. And then it gets convoluted more and more, and yeah, over the years it's like that sort of whisper game, right? You whisper to someone a whole story, and then at the end it's 2 sentences, and that's it. If you're lucky, it sort of resembles a story in the beginning, but usually it doesn't, because people have like bad attention spans, and that's just at that same time in the same room, right? But this over the years, if I'm able to ask God one question, if I had a wish that could be maybe made true, I would be willing to just see everything in history take place, just from beginning to end. I want to see it, I want to know it, I want to understand it, all these intricacies, and I want to be able to tell about it.
Yeah, that would be cool, I would suppose. Yes.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
Like,
it's like you are overseeing a miniature like battle, right?
Yeah, like a top-down view.
Yeah, it's like strategic plan thing you see. Right?
Yeah, sped up.
Yeah.
Play it at 78 speed, God.
Wouldn't you like to see that? I would.
That's what I just said. Play it at 78 speed, God.
Well, I think that God can make it time doesn't exist,
right?
So it's only in one time frame for God, I think. So he could sort of ingrain it into your mind without you having to go through time to just go over all these battles and stuff.
Sure.
Like knowledge.
Yeah, that would be cool. Remember my daughter's question?
Why it's not made from cupcakes?
Why isn't everything made of cupcakes?
How I respond to her?
I'll never forget it. Never.
You know how I would have responded to her?
What?
I would have said, well, why don't you ask King Midas, right? Because King Midas was asking God to make everything from gold.
Yep. Everything he touched from gold, and it was a curse.
Yeah, because he couldn't eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with her, with everything in food, it will all decay, and you wouldn't be able to sit down on a reasonable chair.
Well, I would suspect that he would say, well, there's some that have gluten intolerance, Abby.
But that would be sort of the route you would take, right? Because of your background.
I just think, and of course it was just hilarious when she said that. It caught me off guard.
How old was she when she said it?
Oh, she was young, maybe 5, 6.
Yeah. Oh, these cute little girlies.
Yeah, because and it was I liked it for the purity of it, and she was quite serious.
I think I was more rebellious. My mom would say, "It's time for bed," and I said, "Why?"
Yeah.
And then because it's time. Yeah, why? Why is it time? Because it's 7:00. Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Who came up with that? I was questioning every single thing. I think my mom must have been so tired at the end of the day that she would say, "Well, because I said so, and now you need to go to sleep." She could have said, "Because I'm tired of you asking questions," but she never said that, because that would have made sense to me.
And another one that stands out. We're traveling from California back to Texas, and we had to drive through Arizona and New Mexico. I don't know which one it was, but we had 2 vehicles, and I had the radio. We were talking, on handheld radios, me and my wife. And the wife, Susan had the kids, and I had the other car. And I was talking to her, and while we were talking, we were going past huge teepees. They're just the biggest teepees I've ever seen. They're beautiful. I don't know what they're representing or anything like that. And I can hear Abby in the background ask Susan what they were. And Susan said teepees and Indians living there. And there was quiet. And then all of a sudden I hear, "Did they bite?" I almost wrecked.
Did they fight?
Do they bite?
Did they bite?
Do they bite? Yeah, do they bite? That's the question she asked.
Huh.
You don't get it?
No.
It's like anything else, because kids are concerned with insects and other things, and not only that, but other animals, insects and animals. Yeah, they'll ask you, do they bite? Well, this question, Susan said, as a answer to a query, that Indians live in there. Her response was, "Did they bite?" The Indians.
So, in other words, the Indians, she thought they were insects?
No, she thought the Indians, I don't know what she thought. I just heard, "Do they bite?"
Maybe she thought there were animals in their tent instead of people living there.
Yeah, another thing, since we're on this topic, we're driving, I don't know. I know we're going towards Bakersfield. We were in California, and she was really young. Still in the child seat. I don't even know if Peter was born yet. And we're driving, and I don't know where it was. I can see it in my mind's eye. I just can't. It was past Victorville, and you got to remember these are sort of high deserts, high plains drifter. But it had turned out that it had rained pretty heavily at the time, or just before we got there, and there was flood water. And when we passed it, I said, "Wow, look at all that flood water." Well, Abby must have got it in her head, this floodwater word. It didn't come up until we were on our way back. And while we were driving back, I said, "Oh, the floodwater's gone," right on that section on the way back. And she kept on saying, "Fogwa." And she would say it, "Fogwa," and she kept on saying it. And if you know Abby, she's quite persistent and strong-headed. And so I can remember Susan and I looking at each other. I'm saying, what the heck is she saying? Vagwa? We kept on repeating it back to her, and every time we would say it with that questionable look on our faces, or just say it and she heard it, she would get more upset.
Oh.
Yeah, so it ended up like 2 or 3 minutes later with her just screaming Fagwa and upset at us as we didn't know what the hell she was saying. And finally at the end I figured it out. It's floodwater. I said, wait a second, Susan. I said, Abby, you said floodwater? Yeah. She shook her head, yes.
Finally. Oh, but how frustrated is it if, as a kid, you phonetically try to say the things that your parents saying, but you don't have it yet, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't have it quite down yet. It's like also like learning another language. You hear it like you don't see it written. You don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
You hear someone say it. You think that you know it. You use it, and then people are like, "What?"
Yeah, like espresso.
Exactly. Well, I've been to France once. I had a dog contest that I was entering into. Not me, my dog.
Jeez.
I have to explain that. And I was there, and I had some lessons in the French language, and I know that I spoke a perfectly well French sentence to a French woman, and she was looking at me like I had 8 heads. Like, what? And not even trying. Right? That's also something, you know. If someone is not trying, that's, I mean, unbelievable, right? You have these, usually Germans and people from France have the same sort of thing with their language. If you don't try to learn it in a way that they can understand, the words are coming out of their mouths. You're not worth a thing. They look at you as if you're nothing, because the next thing that when she's thought, oh, I'm not comprehending this at all, she just like tilted up her chin and just like, okay, you're not there, I didn't hear you, and it's so humiliating. I mean, you try, right, and then someone does that. We in Holland are totally different. We try to understand people. We try to talk their languages instead that they are talking ours.
I think you stereotype the Germans quite wrongly. It's been my experience that they always liked, even though you screwed their language up, they always liked you to try.
Yes, they like you to try, but they don't want to try your language. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. I mean, have you tried a German guy to really try to speak English?
I never really
back in those days.
I never really was talking to German guys back then.
Girls.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. They all knew English because they were taught English in school, but there was proper English. So when they got around Americans, like such as me, we spoke slang. A lot of slang, so they didn't quite get it. They had a hard problem, I remember, with sarcasm. So it's a learning experience. So you had to gain that experience, right? That I crashed and burned many times. They'd just get disgusted, right? Get frustrated.
Disgusted by you?
Yeah, because I'm all about slang and sarcasm, and I have my own way of speaking, and that just sometimes that was pretty frustrating because they were legitimately trying to understand. You could tell it on their face, right? But then they get frustrated. It happened a few times, but that's all right. I spent nearly 6 years there.
Yeah, the thing is, I think that the places where you went, you said that you were going to places that was not crowded with Americans.
Yes, I would do that. That took about, I would say, about my second or third year. Just the way it was set up, because Berlin's a pretty big city, even when it was cut in half back then. It's still, quite large. Yeah, so outside McNair Barracks, that was the U.S. Army barracks, the infantry barracks, every night the taxis would line up across the street. It was like a big 1, 2, 3, 4. It was like a big 6-lane highway just in that one small part right outside of McNair Barracks. And the taxis would line up across the street. You could see them. They'd be down like a quarter mile. There'd be like 40, 50, 60 taxis lined up every night. On weekends, it just got worse. So what I would do, I tried to get away from the Americans. So what I would do, of course, back then, you would go to sleep after work. If you were back in garrison, you'd go to sleep on a Friday after work at 5 o'clock, get up at like 10:30 at night. And that's when it began. So, so you're well rested. And I can remember many, because I wanted to get away from the Americans because they just ruined everything, because they were, obnoxious, mainly, loud, knuckle dragging mouth breathers, and that would scare away a lot of the females. And I got sick of it. Because sometimes you'd like to go out and party with the guys. Okay, I got it. I did that sometimes. But for the most part, I would go off on my own. I would just go by myself, and I would go out to the taxis, and I'd jump in the taxis, which were all, primo Mercedes-Benz, right? Or Beamers back at that time. And I would say, they'd look back and I'd say, wherever you think is best and away from any Americans. So, and they would just take me there.
Yeah. I think, but then you might get more into trouble with the language, maybe.
I can't remember any times getting in trouble. You would think, even back then, now that I think back on it, just the time, I was out of my frigging mind, right? In America, now, they know you're a GI, right? My hair's cut really short. I smell like an American. I could look at me. I'm American, right? Yeah. So back at even though that's why I can't. I'm having a hard time understanding my mindset at that time, because it was. Even though I was raised to be cautious, and even then in another country, especially around those times then, because, how did we get on this discussion?
Languages and habits and stuff, I think.
Even though
sometimes you don't know.
It was a little dicey because, Germans, up to that time, see, a lot of older Germans, they loved the Americans. The little bit older generation, they loved the Americans. Why? Because of, the Berlin airlift and all that. And, and I could tell the older, I'm not talking about the decrepitly old. I'm just talking about the older generation from that time. We're talking mid-'80s, 1980s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that's logical, because those are the ones that were sort of liberated, sort of came through the war.
Yes.
And also saw that there was, they were building up to something again.
Well, the Americans pretty much saved their bacon back then, even though they destroyed most of the bacon at first. But they saved their bacon with the, the Berlin airlift and Tempelhof and all that stuff. And there were good feelings amongst. I would say right around that time, it hadn't changed yet. For the most part, you would still have your factions. I knew where not to go. Skinhead district, Turkish district, even though I ventured in there because I was friggin' crazy back then. Even though I did venture, there's a lot of, we ain't going to get into all the stories because they're just, but I'm thinking now when you look back on that, now that I look back, right now that I'm looking back, I find myself out of friggin' control.
Yeah, but that's youth, right?
Yeah.
When you're young,
Yeah.
you have no fear.
Yeah. I can remember.
I think it needs to be that way because you need to be able to explore and to be out there, and you did.
Yeah, but can you imagine? I can remember so many. I can't even count how many times that I'm walking in the back streets of Berlin, 3:00 in the morning by myself.
Mm-hmm.
No worries, none.
Mm-hmm.
Carefree.
Not a care in the world.
Yep. I look back on that and I said, "What the hell was I thinking?"
But
But
maybe you're drunk. How about that?
You're right. Well, yeah, lots of time, not stumbling, slobbering, rolling over drunk. No, not like that. No. Maybe had a couple drinks, maybe took some liberties with alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
But still.
And now you get sick from a mocha coffee.
Yeah, down mocha does me in.
How the mighty have fallen.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen. And you're loving that.
Yes, I do.
It's
I always
like
wanted to say that.
it's like you're getting your just desserts, aren't you? Have another mocha.
You should do some booze in there.
Now that would be absolutely horrible.
Well, there's people that have these Irish coffees, for example. Right?
Sure.
They have, and there's whiskey or something, or rum or whatever in the coffee.
Sure.
And, my ex liked to drink those. Don't do me a favor.
Yeah, you're not a big alcohol drinker, are you? You never were.
Nope. Never ever. Also, my parents, no. We haven't never. The only thing that we had at Christmas time was a bottle of cider with 1% or maybe at the highest 11% alcohol.
Yeah.
Although 11 is like pretty much, but that was maybe the limit. But usually it was just 1% or 2% of alcohol, and then we liked the cider, we liked the bubbles. It looked like champagne, and that was it basically. I know that my mom sometimes likes some beer, but only in the summertime when it's really really hot outside.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad never ever liked it. But he could hold his liquor because one time his friends sort of tested him and said, well, also I think it was at last New Year's or Old Year's Day and New Year's Day.
Yeah. And
that he was tried, and they say, oh yeah, take this and take that, and he was like as sober as could be. There was no getting him to be drunk, and even though he was not adjusted to it. So, but he never liked it. He never liked beer. He found it too bitter and he didn't like it at all. And I'm thinking it might be something with the genes because I don't like it too. And my sister, she does drink some wine, but she doesn't really need it,
Right.
Some people need to have alcohol. And
yeah, I was never
you
one of
just
that.
say-
I was never like that. I was on the opposite end. I did it socially. I never craved it. Never. So I have that.
Well,
now.
good. That's a good thing because then you might not be prone to be an alcoholist, right? Because some people do like the taste of it, but they also like the effects of it.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're telling me.
Can't
Okay.
stop.
All right. Let's wrap this up because we can go on for hours talking about absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and I wrapped it up pretty early, so I think.
Yeah.
we need to,
I gotta roll out. I did want to. That was a good presentation, by the way. I want to touch on it. I just thought of it this morning. And I forgot that next week is Thanksgiving week here in the U.S. So I have some family coming in. So it's looking like right now that there's not going to be a Tuesday or a Saturday show. So
Okay.
I don't know. I might come up with something for Tuesday. There's going to be another the treatment between now and Tuesday, but for Tuesday, I don't know what. It's not going to be live. I'm going to tell you now. So I'm going to have to come up with something. I think
You did have something in the hopper, didn't you?
I don't think I do, but I'm gonna make something in the hopper.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and like we were talking about, I'm thinking about replaying some numpty clips. So I might just do that. We'll see. I just wanted to let everyone know that's my fault for not letting everyone know about that. I might try to get on Nathan's show tomorrow too, and let everyone know. But oh, speaking of which, tried to get on Nathan's show today. The meet wouldn't work, so I said, that's no problem. I'll just go into Discord. And I went into Discord, and I went into Nathan's stream, and I didn't have permissions to speak. I knew you'd get a kick out of that.
Were you even allowed in the chat?
Yeah, yes. Shockingly, I got in. I was just forever muted.
Why didn't you message Righteous?
I did. So he got back with me about 45 minutes later after I had weaseled my way into the Google Meets from bothering Adam.
But he's usually in the voice verification. Why didn't you go there?
He wasn't there. He wasn't there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has trouble, of course, having enough people to do these things that he wants to be done. And he needs to give you the permissions, basically.
McBooger Eater couldn't friggin' burn a soup sandwich, you numpty dirk.
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking about the numpty in chat. He just said, just rewatched you getting burned by MC Booger Eater. Oh? He couldn't burn a friggin' soup sandwich, you knuckle dragger. Yeah, what specifically? Dude's a retard fur. I'm talking about McBooger Eater.
Yeah,
you have to be some type of delusional numpty dipshit. You. Dirk. Nice name, too.
Dirk is also a Dutch name, by the way.
Oh, that's not surprising.
But the Sobotka is not a Dutch name.
Yeah, go piss. You know what? You don't get detailed. You're just talking like a friggin' schoolgirl. Get the hell off my channel. Bye. All right, let's wrap it up. Like I said, there'll be more info to follow. For me, of course, Betty, we're not doing your show next week. It's Thanksgiving.
Sure, but then again, we were doing it once a 2 weeks, right? So
yes. Okay. So that lines up.
And I need my time. So I can't do it weekly because I need time to research and put things together.
Okay. Yeah. So you're good to go. We're on the same schedule. Yep. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. All right.
Yeah, what we could do is maybe record a couple of my things when I have them sort of back to back, and then you have something in the hopper. You know, that could be a thing for a Thursday that you can't make it.
Oh, yeah, we could. Yeah. Yes.
So once I have a couple of them already made, then we don't have to do them live, but we can just record them together and then put them out there. And then you have a couple of these handy, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
Is that a good idea, maybe?
Yeah. Just in case something happens and you get busy. Yeah. It's the same type of thing.
Yeah, but we need to make time for that as well because everything takes time.
Yeah, it does.
Unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah. All
right. Yeah.
Okay, but you have a good Thanksgiving with the nice people around you. That's good to hear.
Yeah. It's gonna be nice. I got some family coming. So okay. Yep. Let's wrap it up, Betty. Like I said, good presentation. Any last words?
Well, yeah, there's not many people watching, and that's okay. I hope that people will watch this back later. When on their own times and stuff.
Yep.
But I like making them. I like presenting them. It sort of helps me out trying to sort of educate myself, but also, in the presenting part of it, making it better and yeah. So hopefully, people will see that I'm sort of less stuck up than I was in the beginning. Yeah, I'm getting more loose in certain ways, but lots to be improved. I understand. I'm not a professional by all means, so I hope that people sort of understand that.
No, they're
reducing
not.
it.
No, they shouldn't give you any break. Joe, don't try to pander people for their sympathies.
I am.
Yeah, I know
I
you
need
are.
sympathy. I need a lot of sympathy.
It's quite pathetic.
I know. Please like me, please.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like, the underlying message. I was getting sick here, a little throw up in the back of my mouth.
Yeah, you're totally the opposite. You freaking like me or I rip your throat out.
You'll like me or else.
I'm going to visit you and do something to you.
I'll do something.
Yeah.
Bye, Betty.
Yes, bye.
Bye. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Like I said, next week is kind of up in the air. We'll figure something out. But until then, take it easy. Have a good one. Be careful out there. QE. Out.